Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Real Talk with Saieed Ali. I am your host, Saieed Ali. I do want to thank you for joining us tonight, right here on Synergy TV from 7 to 8, Monday to Friday, for the #1 current affairs program in our country, our beautiful country of Trinidad and Tobago. Beautiful, beautiful country. So, those of you that are logged onto our page, Real Talk with Saieed Ali, our Facebook page, remember to like and share our page. For those of you who haven't liked our page as yet, just go and open your Facebook account and in the search bar just type in Real Talk with Saieed Ali and you will see our Facebook page popping up. Like it, and as soon as you like it, share our page at the same time. So viewers, those of you that are on YouTube, remember share our live stream. Share it, share it, share it. Let the world understand that Real Talk with Saieed Ali is the #1 current affairs program in Trinidad and Tobago. So far we are still leading as the 3rd best news forecast in Trinidad. But nevertheless, one day to come we will be on the 2nd and 1st lineup. So as we start off our program tonight, viewers, remember, feel free to call in 238-6716. That is our studio line to voice your concerns and your opinion on matters that we are discussing tonight. And remember, for those of you that are having spiritual problems, you can feel free to contact me. Those of you who have properties to sell or looking for property to buy, you can also contact me. And if you lend your friend and your family your hard-earned cash and they refuse to give it to you back, Real Talk, that collection department will be willing to assist you in any way possible. So viewers, as we start up our program tonight, we're moving straight on to the President. President Paula May Weeks, in her message to the media on World Press Freedom Day 2021, called on journalists to use the occasion to remember the importance of presenting accurate information. Weeks stated that conspiracy theory and fake news circulated at a fast rate have created widespread misunderstanding and division regarding the health and safety protocols of the pandemic. Weeks urge the public to ensure their source of information are reliable and reputable before sharing. So viewers, over the years, over the decades, there have also been a widespread of fake news in Trinidad and Tobago, which have to be corrected during the course of the day. So I myself are urging those in the media, like myself, to make sure that our sources are responsible. They are trustworthy, they are reputable sources, the information is live, it is direct, before we share onto the public domain. So moving along tonight, viewers, feel free to call in. Feel free to call in. Let us hear how the lockdown in Trinidad and Tobago will affect you, starting from the 4th of this month, 2021. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley have ordered more stricter restrictions in an attempt to limit the movement of citizens. This after citizens were told that in 7 days, the bed space capacity of the COVID positive patient could run out. The number of cases being admitted daily, he stated, as of midnight tonight, Tuesday night, all food service will be discontinued, including street food sales. Feed yourself at home. That's what the Prime Minister had to say. Listen to this.
As of midnight tonight, all food service will be discontinued, and that includes itinerant or what you call street food selling. All. I am sure that there will be inconvenience here, but the corollary to that is I'm sure that most people, if not all, in this pandemic, in this crisis that is brewing, that you could feed yourself at home.
So viewers, when you're calling in tonight, make it sweet and short. Caller, good night.
Good night.
Go right ahead, my dear.
Mr. Saheed,
Yes?
legalize gun now. Do you know how this thing going? We just go and rub and teeth and done the show.
Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. I understand what you're saying, my friend, but I cannot promote that. If there's one thing I cannot do is promote that. But I understand what you're saying. So now, viewers, all retail stores will end their sales as of today. The pharmacies, groceries, hardware stores, and financial institutes will remain open between 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. People who do not have to come out for essential business were told to stay at home.
And of course, given the burning desire to be there with everybody else, we are forced now to restrict the opening hours again from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. for food supply stores and pharmacies. And these are the essentials, and we are saying to the population again, for the days ahead as described, if you don't have to come out as an essential worker or don't have to come out for essential business, stay at home, stay away from people. If you do that, you will minimize the chances. I can't give you any guarantee, but it gives you the best chance of not being infected, giving us as a country the best chance of not increasing our infection rate, and more importantly, of turning around the direction of the infection.
Caller, good night.
Yeah, good night. I began to study.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah. Hello, good night.
Yes, go right ahead. You're live on Real Talk.
Yeah, I would like to get to a first time calling. I'm not Chinese national.
You're live on television. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I live in the I'm here with married and living here.
Caller, we do apologize for that. We are getting some distortion. If you could call back, my operators will accept your call. So moving along further, viewers, concerning measurement, these measurements will be in place until May 23rd, 2021. The PM noted that if you are engaged in any activities that facilitate the movement or gathering of persons, the government will see that as an area for restriction.
So it matters not what you are engaged in, but if you are engaged in an activity that facilitates the movement of people or the gathering of people, the government has to see that as an area for restriction. Otherwise, the common sense thing will not be done.
Caller, good night.
Good night, Saeed, and to all the listeners and to all my Muslim brothers. Now, I want to put 179 on Terence the Terrible Florida and see how it's going.
Short and sweet.
I do like how it's going. It looks like we're reaching there. But, you know, more importantly, does the leadership of the government understand what is a pandemic? When WHO said it was a pandemic last year, I think it's late January, what did we do as a country? What did Terence Terrible told us? We can't get that here. Carnival, wine and jam and wine and jam. So how you expect it to spread? When they were serious about wearing masks, he said take a piece of cloth and put it in your face.
Correct.
I can't understand them fellas now. It's so many excuses and they're mismanaging it so bad. They're trying to put back, as I say, the genie in the bottle. But the genie spreading left, right, and center now. I go on. I'll come back.
Thank you, my friend. So viewers, Rowley said, since last Thursday, the government have been monitoring the situation in an effort to reduce the number of persons leaving their homes.
And it's against that background that we made the interventions last Thursday to reduce the number of people who are coming out there all all for good reasons at the personal level. Everybody could tell you what is the good reason why they are out and the absolute reason why they are out. But the requirement is that we want you not to come out if you don't have to. Get with the program that if it is not absolutely essential, then please don't come out, because then you become a part of the problem.
Caller, good night.
Hi, good night.
Go right ahead.
Yes, you know what I don't understand, and it's unfair to us, is that the people who have to pay rent and pay mortgages, how we supposed to do that in a lockdown?
I understand.
How he helping us with that?
Thank you, my friend. Now, before I go further, since that the immediate, this lockdown came as an immediate effect, and it shocked Trinidad and Tobago. What I'm asking tonight is for the financial institutes and the banks and those who have to pay rent. I am simply asking that you give the individuals a 30 days waiver. This is all I'm asking. Because last year we end up in chaos in Trinidad and Tobago with people, some committed suicide, some lose house, some lose car, some end up on the streets. You know, so I'm asking the Minister of the Minister of Finance, Colin Membert, to meet with the heads of the banks, financial institutes, and give the individuals, the customers, give them a 30 days waiver on their loan, because Trinidad and Tobago will be on a lockdown for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks of being home, how will you have a salary to pay your rent, to pay your mortgage, or to buy groceries? That is 3 weeks home. For the weekly paid and the fortnightly paid, they will be home for 3 weeks. So this is something I'm just showing out to the Minister of Finance, to talk with the heads of the financial institute and see if we could get that 30 days waiver for their clients. Now, viewers, before we move on to the Commissioner, caller, good night.
Yeah, hello, good night. I'm just calling on for Mother's Day on Sunday. Like, if you could go and visit your mom on Sunday.
But we will try to see what can take place. So, tonight, viewers, we're talking about security in Trinidad and Tobago. Security, because I am confused. Me running a security company and an intelligence unit agency are confused. I am confused with some of the laws that it having us in Trinidad confused. And let me explain this. Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith stated that TTPS policy have been consistent as it always follows the law. He stated that TTPS can access the private property through the provisions of Section 133 of the Public Health Ordinance in any situation where persons gathering on private property.
What the Prime Minister, as the chair of the National Security Council, has stated is trying to explain to persons that if you try to use that window of opportunity in your private property to do something that can affect national security, there is a window that can be used through Section 133. I said it then and I stated now. I'll give you simple examples. You use your private property to have a fete, to bring a bottle and enter, have a cover charge, you have a pay bar. There are a number of things that obviously you have now lost the opportunity of referring to your property as private. There are other situations, but the police will not abuse our authority. So the perception that the Prime Minister is trying to state come Mother's Day, if you have 12 persons in your home, the police are going to come running into your home. That is not the case.
He stated, he also gave the assurance that the TTPS will only act within the law and will not abuse their power or their authority in any way.
This is about someone deliberately trying to abuse the opportunity of you having private property, turn it into something virtually public that can cause a threat to national security by the concerns of COVID. And that is all it is. The police will be very cognizant of the constitutional rights of citizens. We will not abuse it, but in the same manner, if there are certain laws we can use, we would use it to ensure the safety and security of citizens in this country.
So, caller, good night.
A very, very good evening to you, Mr. Said.
To you, my friend.
So we already know all what Rory did wrong and everything that is happening. But what I want to say is something disturbing. A relative of mine is in the Couva hospital. Positive, COVID positive. And I had to drive down, go around Prisal, come by the gate to deliver a case of water. Guess what? It was confirmed by the security by the gate, yeah, boy, we really run out of water. A hospital, apart from medication and whatnot, and doctors and nurses, water is one of the top priorities in that hospital.
Yes.
It's a hospital, all the way side.
Run out of water. Thank you, my friend, for sharing it. Now, Griffith noted that for this reason, should any officer be forced to activate Section 133 of the Public Health Ordinance, they will do so in a support capacity to health officials who will be leading the interventions. Follow me closely. He added that the TTPS will prefer to seek a warrant if it permits.
If the police will decide to intervene, it will be based on Section 133, but that is with the public health officers at the front line. We will provide the support. And if it is that we do enter premises on most occasions, if it is that we have enough time, it will be with a warrant. So all of the concerns and the accusations to give all of this perception, this is deliberate and it is totally uncalled for. There's no need for concern. If it is that we go back to what you speak about, if anyone has submitted a report, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, I've been looking in the laws and I'm not seeing a law for being stupid. So we cannot police stupidity. We can only operate and enforce something that is within, if there's a law and a law is being broken. If someone can show me the laws that have been broken, we can then act in that manner. What again, the Prime Minister and even myself, what we continue to do is to ask persons to be mature, to be responsible. The more that takes place, the less likelihood that police may need to intervene.
Now, viewers, he stated that TTPS can access the private property through the provision of Section 133 of the Public Health Ordinance in any situation wherever persons gathering on private property. Good. Good. So which means 133, Section 133 have been inactive and empowered, I should say, since COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago since 2020. Okay? Nice. Bayside Tower pool party. Private residents run it.
Spoke about public place. This was not public place. So the law is a private, it's public place. So if you have your home and private property, the police have to be very careful. So in this situation, this was a gated community, and it was so my point is, suppose 20 persons in a gated community all decide to go to the pool at the same time. Is the police supposed to clear the first 5 who arrived and arrest the other 15? It is very difficult in this situation.
Right, run the video now for Bayside Towers, where the pool is. So now, viewers, Section 133 would have been effective in a situation like this, where they had the pool party. You all remember that? You all remember that? This was last year. So, Section 133 in effect since last year. So we're coming on to earlier this year now. Earlier this year. St. Clair video. Earlier this year, a couple of weeks back, remember when there was a big wedding in St. Clair? Remember that, Trinidad and Tobago? How many of you all remember that? You all remember Section 133 now? How come Section 133 wasn't effective? How come Section 133 wasn't effective? We heard it was allegedly 200 people on private property. According to the Commissioner of Police, TTPS could activate Section 133. So why now TTPS did not activate Section 133 a couple of weeks back when they had a big wedding in St. Clair? Or is it a law for the rich and a law for the poor? Because clearly it is showing that. Clearly it is showing that. We're talking about security. We're talking about do's and don'ts. All of a sudden, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago said now that TTPS officers could come into your private property. So let me tell you something. Come back. Let me tell you something. Why didn't TTPS now activate Section 133 when they had that wedding up in St. Clair? Somebody say something. Are you ringing a bell? Am I ringing a bell to you, Trinidad and Tobago? Prior to that, a businessman had a massive wedding in Valsayn in November of last year. A massive wedding. I don't have the footage. We're trying to locate it. But a massive wedding in November. How come Section 133 was not applied? How come TTPS did not activate Section 133? How come back then the Prime Minister did not use the term where police can enter into your private property? How come he didn't use the term back then? I tell earlier, I bring in news to you all in a different way, you know. In a different way. Caller, good night.
Good night, Mr. Ali.
Go right ahead.
I want to draw an analogy to you, right? If you and your family, if you and your family, right, home, and you tell your wife you don't want nobody there, right? You don't want nobody there at your house when you're away, right? Now you come home from work in the evenings and I find 15 people in there. Who are you going to blame? You're going to blame the people? You have to blame your wife.
Exactly.
And that's what the government's afraid to do.
Thank you.
They're afraid to scare the only protecting themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. So you see, viewers, big wedding St. Clair, poolside party, private property, businessman hosts massive wedding in November last year, but Section 133 could not be active. Why? Are these people above the law? Well, then you're telling me, Mr. Prime Minister and the Commissioner of Police, technically you are telling me, hey, you see these people? They could do what they want. And then to the smaller class people, the poor people in Trinidad, well, we'll authorize the police to break down all your door. That is the signal you're sending. That is the message you're sending. Let me tell you something. I take my time and I organize today's show. Organize it. And I want to thank Jovi. So viewers, we have on the line tonight a senator for UNC, Jayanti Lakshmidal. Good night, my dear.
Hi, good night. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Thank you for joining us. So,
no problem.
Ms. Lakshmidal, I believe you're a lawyer, attorney at law, right?
Yes, I am.
Nice. So Trinidad, we have a lawyer on the line. Now, can you tell the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, can the police enter into your private property?
All right. Well, let me start off by saying, because apart from a lawyer, I am parliamentarian, and I think it's a responsible thing to say. The police should have no cause to have to come to your home because you ought not to be congregating in your home at this time. Right? Figures are very scary, as we heard today from the medical professionals and the health professionals. We are maybe 10 days away from our health system on the verge of becoming overwhelmed. So we shouldn't be. But the thing about it is, at law, the police, as far as I am aware, are allowed to enter premises if they believe an arrestable offense is taking place. And you are allowed to arrest someone without warrant if you believe that they are committing an offense, about to commit an offense, or have committed an offense. This is the Criminal Law Act I'm talking about.
Yes.
How it defines it, right? Now, the regulations that the government is relying on, made pursuant to the Public Health Ordinance, this very old 1915 ordinance, does not speak to any offense such as gathering in private premises. It speaks to public places where you shall not gather. And in any event, the offense of gathering in a public place that is, carries a maximum penalty of 6 months imprisonment. It is not an arrestable offense. It is a summary offense. So there are many different interpretations that are being given. I see that they have said that anything can be done in order to enforce the health regulations and so on. And the Prime Minister and I think the Attorney General quoted Section 133 of the Public Health Ordinance. I believe that is a very weak argument because in that said Public Health Ordinance, I think it's in Section 163, it speaks to a public health official visiting premises and so on. For the purposes of inspecting, you can introduce that power under the regulations, which, by the way, hasn't been introduced under these regulations. I see nothing in the regulations about public health officials inspecting premises to, sorry, forgive me, I have a little child.
No problem.
Unrelenting tonight. Yes. I see nothing in the public health regulations that speaks to the public health officials visiting premises to to pursue the aim of containing the spread of diseases and so on. But there's this Section 163 that talks about an owner or an occupier being able to refuse access, and there's a process. There's a process whereby the public health official may enter with assistance if needed, and that assistance I presume is contemplated to be the police, but they must go before a magistrate. And these things are the known safeguards that we have in our law. So I find that to simply ignore those things and get up on a high horse on a media platform, and we can't make law media conference and press conference. You must follow the law, and you must also explain processes and procedures very carefully. That is my view.
Now that leads me to my second question. Now, are you aware or know that there are any legislation put in place to safeguard against these interventions that the Prime Minister said? Yeah, well, I mean, the primary law that safeguards against these things is your constitutional right to privacy, to family life, to, Sections 4 and 5 of the Constitution contain all of the rights and privileges that people of Trinidad and Tobago enjoy. Now, again, I want to make the point that because you have a right, doesn't mean you do not have responsibilities. True. I'm not saying that people should say, well, I'm going to have 100 people in my home because that is my right. No, you must also be responsible. But you see, the problem is, and why we have constitutional rights, and why the suspension of constitutional rights must also only take place where you have invoked the procedure, which is a state of emergency, which has not been done. Correct. Is because you want to guard against abuse. Now, could you imagine, we heard on the weekend that the Minister of National Security has called upon the leaders to weed out the rogue elements in the police service. So I'm not saying anything different by saying that there could be rogue elements in the police service. Could you imagine a rogue police officer relying on this sort of decree from the Prime Minister that police could come in your home and so on and so on to guard against public? Could you imagine the rogue police officer taking that and running with it, and what he could do, who he could terrorize, who he could abuse? It will have nothing to do with COVID, and preventing the spread of COVID. True. It could have everything to do with, self-interest, with pursuing a very illegitimate aim, and so on. And this is why you must be responsible when you explain laws. This is why you must have clarity and certainty in the law, so that people know what their rights are, they know what powers the police have, and they know how the police can exercise it. The police themselves, I have great respect
for the very brave men and women of our police service
Yes.
who are out there every single day being exposed to the potential for COVID and so on. I heard that they were vaccinating them. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yes.
But they also deserve clarity. They must know that when they do their jobs, what they are required to do, what are the limits of their powers. You do not want, I think that far too often, we have overzealous officers overstepping bounds and people taking matters to court. Police officers may innocently, in a case like this, say what the Prime Minister has said. So if the police were to stumble upon, someone having a gathering at their home and they were to say, but the Prime Minister say we're supposed to, deal with these things, and they barge in, kick down somebody's door, arrest people and so on, they may legitimately trying to do what they think is required of them, But the fact of the matter is that, there are processes, there are procedures, and there must be clarity in what are the procedures followed. And I don't think that was adequately communicated by the Prime Minister, and more so by the Attorney General, who is the person in charge of legal affairs of the state. Even if the Prime Minister wants to, as we've been saying, put a buff on the population. Okay, all right. But, responsible attorneys and persons like the Attorney General, people who are lawyers in the cabinet, I think that they should go further and provide that clarity to the police. Last year, and this brings me to a very important point as well, that I think this has disturbed the population. The law hasn't changed, but last year, when there was the big Wester versus Zesser debate going on, the population was very alarmed and was very put off by the fact that, the Commissioner of Police and others spoke and said that, look, the lines are blurry, we can't go into a private condominium complex where there's a big pool party taking place and so on. Well, tell us what has changed. If you are now of the view that police can enter private premises in order to enforce the law, what has changed? You must explain that to the population, because you see, your credibility comes into question.
Correct.
I am not saying that the public health official, if they go before the magistrate, if they get a warrant, if they could be accompanied by police and so on and do things that are necessary, all of that is perhaps possible and contemplated by the law if you follow the procedure. But you must explain to the population why the law is being enforced selectively, because then that will give, I think, the entire population some confidence in the enforcement of the law. It will also give you as a government some credibility, which is what I think we are seeing. What I have seen this last week, I could only say it amounts to a form of rebellion by the population, because the government has lost credibility, and they have really lost the respect of the people for many reasons, and I can get into them, but I think that has really caused people, so they have simply not, when I see the kind of lines for street food and so on, and the congregation of people are simply not taking on the government, and it's very dangerous. It is a very dangerous thing to happen, but the government is to blame somewhat for that, because they have really lost credibility in the eyes of the citizens.
My dear, I do want to thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you for clearing up the air for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And hopefully from tonight onwards, they will be able to look at things different. So thank you one more time, my dear.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Take
care. Bye-bye.
So viewers, you all heard it. You all heard it. Now, please, we have the Brazilian variant P1 in Trinidad. It is more dangerous than the normal COVID-19, I would say. So please know how you're gathering in your home. So we're moving on from there, but we're staying on security. Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines stated that there was no issue when coming to the public health ordinance with regards to private or public spaces. He said there's no issue. No issue. Hold on. Hines was questioned on what matter triggered this intervention and if he had any issue with the laws that were in place. He stated, "From my part, there are no issue." He made note that in support of the Attorney General and Prime Minister, they have clearly stated what the law states.
For my part, there is no issue. The Prime Minister, supported by the Attorney General, supported by the Commissioner of Police,
supported by yours truly, and most of all supported by the dictates of the law in the public health ordinance, which have been published on social media and on mainstream media, have established in so doing very clearly what the law says.
Good. He says, do what the law says. Why didn't they do it? Why didn't they do it in November when the businessman had a big wedding? Why didn't they do it in St. Clair when it had allegedly 200 people in a massive wedding? Why didn't they do it in Bayside Towers with a private pool party? Why didn't? Is the law for some people and no law for the others? Tonight I am educating you all through these individuals who we in Trinidad and Tobago have selected as representatives to represent Trinidad and Tobago. So it's their own whip cutting their tail. How we call it tonight? Tuesday night. And I just turn it up to the Monday. It's Mash Up Monday. You know, when you're working Sunday to Sunday, just forget the day sometime, you know, viewers. So forgive me. Tonight is Mash Up Monday. Their own mouth and their own laws and their own whip is turning around and is biting them now. Let me tell you something. It's Saieed all you're dealing with. It's Saieed. Now, Heinz further noted that there is a courthouse for when these laws are applied.
So for me, there's no issue. There's a place called the courthouse where when these matters are made alive, they will be arbitrated upon. Imagine the very use of the Public Health Ordinance of 1940 and the regulations under that law that we have applied to protect the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They've gone to court on that on about 4 occasions. They've challenged the constitutionality of that. They've gone to court and said it was not constitutional. And the court on 4 occasions, including up to recently, have indicated nothing is wrong with the law. It found no issue as to its constitutionality, no issues under which the method in which the regulations are made. But the opposition is saying they want us to come to Parliament to make it. And I know why. Because once we go to Parliament to make it, if they only have a half chance to object, they will object because they don't want nothing good for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That's why I say they are vampires.
You see, I will tell you something, Mr. Fitzgerald. It's not challenging the law, you know. It's to make sure that it is in effect. Let me tell you that. All the occasions gone by in the big shots areas and the big shots and them keeping Bram, how come the Commissioner of Police didn't order policemen to follow 133 and get in? Why the former Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, didn't order the commissioner to order the police to get into these businessmen home and apply the law? That was a problem because they're up in society while the poor people down in society. So that was the problem. Now you are the new Minister of National Security. Let me tell you something. Is you and I. You as the Minister of National Security, I have a security company and an intelligence unit running. And believe me, just how you getting advice from professionals, Saieed getting advice from qualified technicians and professionals. So we're going down the same horse Santa Rosa. Keep in mind, it's Saieed all dealing with. He also called on persons, whether public or private, or law or not law-abiding, to adhere to the public health guidelines and protect your lives. Hey, let me tell you something. I just always say, all I feel is a dummy on television here. I just come on and just rant and rave. But when I rant and rave, there's points behind it, you know. Because there are educated people sitting down watching Real Talk. And there is be educated also. But he talk, I just talk. Caller, good night.
Good evening, Mr. Said.
Go right ahead, my friend.
Said, every man, woman, and child in this country knows COVID is real, it is serious, and it is deadly. And I don't think anybody in this country would risk their lives and their family lives to break any protocol or to be delinquent in adhering to what they need to do to prevent this virus from spreading and taking anybody's lives. But then we have to ask ourselves how it is Trinidad and Tobago, after 14 months, are in the situation where we are today, together with Brazil and India. The three countries in the world that is the worst off than every other country. And early, when places like Italy and France and Spain and all these places then were going through their hardship, they learned from it.
Yes.
They know that here what? There's no restriction cannot prevent COVID from spreading. You have to either go into a total lockdown like countries like New Zealand and South Korea and China and Australia and things. This partial thing with them doing here would just reduce the numbers back probably, and then in a couple of months again we'll go back to the same scenario again.
Correct.
And it just makes absolutely no sense. And then you cannot lock down a population for over 14 months and expect people not to be irritated and resist what you are doing. Because first to begin, the population doesn't trust the government anymore.
True.
When all these countries were securing vaccine, and now they are in a position to come out of the COVID and open back their economy and put back people's lives at normalcy. We here now realizing that all along they were playing us for fools when they were telling us they are securing vaccine and they are number one on the list and things. Now you hear we're begging for vaccine.
Correct.
Now you're realizing that oh, there's no vaccine, now there's a scarcity of vaccine. So how long now we would go on like this? And it all goes back down to the incompetence of Keith Rowley and this government that he's leading. They were fooling the population all the time, and now the population have become fed up, and now we are forced to go back into a situation where it could become even more worse off than what the COVID is doing to the population already. It is real hardship people will be seeing. And the thing about it, everybody know that they can complain and talk as much as they want, but we have a constitution in this country that is not with anything, because you cannot hold nobody accountable for the nonsense. Like Rowley supposed to be in jail or in some mental asylum for having COVID on the upswing and then telling people that they could go and travel all about the place as usual. And now that we're in a situation like this, he's playing like he's blaming everybody else but himself. And that is what our constitution is supposed to be reassessed and written over, so that when leaders like these are in power and they do foolishness, we can hold them accountable. Because he's talking about the money that they're spending. They're not spending their money, you know. The taxpayers' hard-earned money that they are wasting and spending, not his money. So when he talk about what he is doing, he ain't doing nothing for the country, you know. It's the people money that they're spending and just have the population in sufferation. Have a good evening, good night, Mr. Sai. Enjoy.
Thank you, my friend. So we staying on security. We going on to border patrol. I tell you tonight, I take my time and I prep my show, you know. They want to talk? We go talk here now. This is my platform, you know. This is my platform. And everything come from this platform into the public domain is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. It's coming from the camel mouth itself. And a plain video, so look at here it. Here it is. Commissioner of Police Gary Grissett have stated that the National Operation Fusion Center has made it easy for police to engage in border protection. Fusion Center make it easy for border protection. Here it is. He thanked the effort of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, which extended its patrol beyond the 2-mile area up to international waters within the maritime boundaries.
Because of the use of the National Operation Fusion Center, whereas before most of the different arms of the protective services, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, it was very difficult for us to operate and assist in dealing with border security. Because of the use of the National Operation Fusion Center, there's now greater synergy between different arms of the protective services that has made it much easier for the police to be involved in border protection. For years, we would have heard that this is not a police matter. It is. For far too long, we have tried to throw blame on the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, more so the Coast Guard. That is not the case. This is a unified effort between all arms of the protective services.
Are you all happy now, he said? He's throwing the blame on all arms. All arms. I love how he said that. I love how he said that. Meanwhile, Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, stated that even the superpowered United States of America had persons entering their country by creative means.
As it pertains to security, we have to secure our border through the legitimate and the illegal ports of entry. Through the legal ports of entry, you would have seen what has taken place over the last few weeks.
The big, rich, powerful superpower United States of America. They have CIA, they have FBI, they have state police, they have Marine branch, they have Air Force. They are superpower. And yet, the statistics show that there are close to 600,000 illegal immigrants in the Florida area alone. They are having an ongoing challenge with the Mexican border, with people coming into America by all of the most creative means.
The Mexican border. Remember when Trump stood up in the White House and he shut down the White House to put up the borders for the Mexicans not to come in? Remember that? He stood up and said, I will shut down the White House. He shut down the White House. And he told countries around the U.S., if you all do not support in this drive and putting up this border, I will lock down the White House. How long the White House went on for? Lockdown until neighboring countries started to realize the man's serious. And what they did, they started to pump money. They started to pump money into the Trump administration to put up the Mexican border. So I want to tell Fitzgerald Hines something now, our new Minister of National Security. You said that people going into the United States, and they are super countries with the CIA and the FBI and whatever intelligence unit. Let me tell you something. They have over 30 million people. Over 30 million people. Trinidad and Tobago is a small dot in the Caribbean. It's a 2x2 country where we have 1.3 million people. 6,000 plus officers. Thousands of TT Defense Force officers. We have the Coast Guard. We have a radar system. You will tell me we cannot manage the border? 1.3 million is our population, not 30 million. Not 30 million. 1.3 million. You will tell me we cannot manage the border? Caller, good night.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Saeed, well done, but I find you should try to go on for a little half an hour longer. This program's so interested every night. I wish something could happen that you can carry the program for a little half an hour.
If you write out a check from a file 15,000, I will get extra half an hour, that 15,000 to cover my next half an hour.
Well, we could organize and put something in place for that. You know? I mean, I'm not a rich guy that calling. I'm just an ordinary guy that calling. But your program's so interesting.
Thank you so much. Feel free to make a contribution, you know. I ain't saying no, you know. A given hand is a blessed hand. Always remember that. Thank you, caller. So hear this now. I now tell Allah, we was on security. We was on security, section 133. Let it become active. Not only because the Prime Minister said it, it should have been active since 2020. When COVID introduced to Trinidad and Tobago, Section 133. Didn't it say that the chief medical officer have the power in a health pandemic? In a health pandemic? I just follow it up, you know. If I feel I don't follow it up, how do you think I could bring this news to all you? How do you think I could bring this news to all you? Because I am a Trinidadian, I am a reporter, I'm in the media business, this is my platform, so I have to be educated in order to come and tell it to you as it is. And all I getting is the facts, you know. All I getting is the facts. So listen this. The state parallel COVID-19 healthcare system has increased to the point where the country's COVID-19 hospital capacity could collapse in 2 weeks' time, and positive cases could surpass 10,000 if current trend continue. Principal Medical Officer Dr. Marian Abdul Richard stated that there have been a greater increase in the term of patient requiring care as persons being admitted into hospitals exceeding the number being discharged. Listen to this.
This line graph demonstrates a trend in terms of admissions that have been ongoing between the period March 1st up until yesterday on the 2nd of May 2021. And you'll see that it's a general increasing trend. And over the last week or so, there has been a significantly greater increase from a day-to-day basis in terms of the number of persons that require hospital care. This is the graph that really was as a red flag and is a significant cause for concern in terms of how we proceed further with our pandemic response. And what it indicates is that the number of persons being admitted into the hospital far exceeds the number of persons that are being discharged.
So now, viewers, she stated that this demonstrates that hospital beds are being filled with that within 2 weeks, the parallel healthcare system will become overwhelmed and could potentially collapse.
As of this morning, the parallel healthcare system has 260 COVID-positive patients in hospital, which puts it at a 48% capacity. The majority of these patients are in the wards, and we can just look at simple arithmetic and simple math in looking at the number of beds remaining and the number of persons that are staying in the hospital and increasing. And we can see that within 10 days, the parallel healthcare system will become overwhelmed if we continue at this rate. So this is a very significant factor or cause for concern. We are looking at the hospitals being overwhelmed within under 2 weeks based on the current trends in terms of the number of cases that are being confirmed on a daily basis.
Caller, good night.
Hello, good night, Saeed.
Go right ahead.
Just two questions. Remember last year, today the Honorable Prime Minister said that he's mirrored into last year lockdown, and that created a great success. But what he didn't say is that due to the good results from May to August was because he called a general election. And they get great results till August. They didn't have no cases until after election. So maybe he should call back a general election. That's one. And two is, I think Mr. Fitzgerald Hines an insult to the security system because of how you could go live in a hotspot and in an area like where he lives, where most criminals reside, and they put him national security minister. And another thing, one more thing before I go. Remember people, he said 40 to 50,000 will be given out on grants. But these people who get in the grants are in the system, he said. They from 1956 they had been in the system. So we can't change that. So they don't pay taxes. They live in free all the time. So this, and another thing, you just tell me how will COVID affect the ministers? They get in their salary, they get in everything. So it's only we being affected. Good night.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, my friend. So viewers, AmCham, you can put it here. AmCham, that is the American Chambers of Commerce, Trinidad and Tobago, have stated that moving forward, government must make vaccination against COVID-19 its #1 priority. Now, it lead back to Ansa McCall, who wanted to purchase 1 million doses. It lead back now to Supermarket Association President Rajiv Dipti. They have 30,000 employees. They are willing to buy the vaccine. And Samakal is willing to invest millions of dollars in it. But the thing is, the government is not interested in giving these two private sector the authorization to go ahead. So a little heads up news now. Is Christian Mote controls the biggest pharmaceutical company in Trinidad and Tobago now. Did the $100 million deal come true? Hey, I feel it's joke. Is he the director or the owner of the biggest pharmaceutical company in Trinidad and Tobago now? That's a little heads up for tomorrow night. But viewers, under everything that the government is doing is the lower class people that suffers. Always remember that. Their salary is untouched. Untouched. While your salary is being monitored to make sure that you stay in 1 point. In 1 point while they go up. While they go up. So I heard now that Fitzgerald Hines wants the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago very soon to declare their asset. But I'm waiting to see when he put that into effect. And believe me, the bubble I will bust. They might have to retract that. Take what I'm telling you. Viewers, we're out of time for tonight, but nevertheless, this was only Mashup Monday. Only Mashup Monday. Tune in tomorrow night from 7 to 8 p.m. on Synergy TV for Turn It Up. I am Saieed Ali. You are viewing Real Talk with Saieed Ali. Allahumma surkuba Allah in the zirri bi Allah. The #1 current affairs program in Trinidad and Tobago, and I thank God for it. So until we meet again, viewers, be safe, sanitize, wear your mask, no gatherings in your home. Good night.